Welcome. Your life is about to get a lot more fun and a lot more soulful and a lot more organized. Yes, I am a Virgo sun, in case you were wondering, so that's where this came from. I also like the nickname of this planner is the Hot Girl Planner because I really wanted it to feel like fun and just like really make you feel excited to plan your content and make this feel like a fun activity and not just like you're hitting your head against the wall. So let's get into it. So this first tab, let me just go over everything that you have here and then we'll go into each one individually. But this first tab is all about your vision and your annual business plan. So this is like if you need help getting clear on like where are you even going, but then also for the year starting to plan out like what are, the main things you're going to sell in the different months and, what do you need to plan ahead for? It also has like a vision board and that kind of stuff. And then the next tab is your content strategy. So this is taking the vision of your brand and your business plan for the year and breaking it down into the specific content strategy and content ideas for how do we bring this to life. There is an example month filled out for you, which we'll come back to, but this is I want to actually show you an example of how to plan strategically a month of marketing and content plans. And then you'll see you have your months view and your daily view tabs. And this goes all the way through the end of this is currently 2026, but if I update this later, this might go through 2027 or whatever it is. But it has this year's all the months filled out in both monthly and daily views. So this is the monthly view will help you plan like high level for the month, and then the daily is like actually like, okay, what are we posting today? What's the description of that? What's the caption? What are our hashtags? Does it need to get approved? That kind of stuff. Okay, so that is everything that you have here. Now let's dive in more detail. So when you are going to create the vision of your brand and plan out your year, you want to first start with these vision prompts on the left. These prompts, and these could take you a little bit. Again, this is like foundation building stuff. So if you don't have any of this done, then this might take a while, but you really need to start here. So these questions are going to help you actually get clear on your brand vision. So I'm not going to sit here and read all these through, but I will just kind of give you an example of the first ones and like what that could look like for answers. So it says, it's this upcoming December. What all has happened in your business that you're so proud of? Close your eyes and see it. Then write out what you saw and felt. And so this is basically like, I want you to literally close your eyes and see what is the vision at the end of the year. What are you so proud of that happened? So basically, these are going to translate into your goals for the year. You're just thinking about it in past tense as if it's already happened. This is like the hot girl manifesting technique. Okay. So you're going to like actually take the time. You can put on some vibey music, light a candle, do that vision planning, and then just write out. You can just like brain dump everything that you see here. And then that is going to translate into like, what are my main goals for the year? So let's, for example, say that in your vision, you see you speaking on big stages at conferences. Okay. So maybe your goal for the year then translates into, I want to speak at one conference this year, or, I want to speak at one conference. I want to speak on 3 podcasts. Like you can kind of like plan out what are my actual goals based on that vision of growing my thought leadership as a speaker. Okay. The next question is, how much revenue and profit will you make this year? So I think it's really important to think about both revenue and profit because if we're doing, let's say we're just shooting for 100K in our year, that's great. But like if you have a lot more expenses, like let's say you have a virtual assistant and someone else who's making 100K doesn't have a virtual assistant, your profits are going to look completely different. So honestly, if you're like shooting for 100K a year, that should be your profit. And so then you can look at like, okay, maybe in revenue, that actually means I need to make $120,000 this year to cover my $20,000 in expenses. So if you are not clear on what your expenses are going to be, that's going to be a part of this too. But if you just first start with, okay, what do I want my profit to be? I want to make 100K, then you can kind of work backwards when we come up with like your offers and stuff of like, okay, so that's the next question down here. It says, what are the key projects? What are your core offers going to be? So your core offers, let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to do I'm going to sell this digital, I don't know, journal. I'm also going to focus on a membership, and then I'm going to have a retreat. Let's just say, for example, those are your 3 offers. Your retreat is going to have a lot more expenses than doing a membership. So once you get clear on like, okay, what those offers are, it'll help you get more clear on your expenses afterwards. But anyways, you can start to see, I'm not going to go through all of these with you, but you can see how this is going to start to actually help you get clear on like the business planning and the vision side. And so I will go down here though So the last thing you're going to end up with is what new energy do I need to embody this year to step into my true power? This is really clear. Again, once we get clear on the business strategy, what are my offers going to be? What energy do you need to embody to actually bring that to life? And then what is the word or mantra for the year to help you embody that? Because once you get clear on all of those things, it's going to help you create your vision board, which is here on the right. So this is a fun, way to visually bring your vision to life. If you already have your own vision board, you can just add it here. But basically this template link is linked right here. So if you just click this link, it'll take you into Canva. You can edit this and make it your own. Or you can, do a different template or whatever you want to do here. It doesn't matter. But then when you're ready to go add it, you're just going to go to File and hit, you're going to go to Insert and you're going to hit Image and put Insert Image over Cells right here. And then you're going to select your vision board that you saved, and then you can put it here instead of the one I have here. This is just an example. But you can start to see how this vision board is going to encapsulate all of your goals for the year, but also that energy and that vibe. So let's say you have 100K profit as your goal. Maybe you even write 100K profit over this picture of the money. Maybe you want to hit 30K on TikTok, so you're going to put some 30 balloons. But then some of these other things could be like, okay, I really want to travel, and that's my why behind wanting to make more passive income. And so you want to kind of put that vision there. But then also the vibe, I mean, you can see here, the vibe here is fierce femininity, total girl boss vibes, the red and the orange, these deep power images. I love my big kitty energy. So I got, the leopard. So these are just examples of how do we bring these goals and the energy we want to embody into one vision board. So that's what that is for there. And then you're going to go into your annual business plan here. So this is really just to help you plan out your year from a super high bird's eye view. The 4 things I have you looking at, and you can always edit these if there's different things you want to look at every single month. You can obviously change and edit these. But what I have is the theme of the month. What are my main offers for the month? What are any important events or dates that I need to kind of put here? And then what is my biz growth focus for the month? And the biz growth focus is really your behind the scenes, what are you working on in your business or on your business that's not, maybe being seen on the outside. It's, for example, that I have here is to set up new paid ads and email sequences. You should always kind of have a growth focus each month so that you're not just on the hamster wheel and you're okay, what am I doing to actually grow that's going to help me for the rest of the coming months once I have it set up. So this is an example for January. So let's say that the theme is new beginnings, goal setting. It's New Year vibes, which trust me, I know some people are probably so over that and don't like that for January. This is just an example. Because spring is really our new beginnings. Anyways, I won't go into the spirituality part of New Year, but this is just an example. So let's say though, that's obviously what a lot of people are feeling and hitting on in January. So we want to take advantage of that. And then so the offer, let's say you sell planners and organization tools. So you're going to do 20% off of all of those. Or maybe that's when you're going to launch a new group program, or maybe you're going to start a New Year challenge, whatever that is for you, that's what you want to put here. And then this is just an example, maybe you're going to host a vision board pajama party on January 23rd. So you just want to hit on what are these main things for each month. Now you might not know exactly what you want to do for the whole year, but what's great about this is it forces you to stop and plan ahead and think about it, right? Because there may be things for example, let's say you want to host a retreat and you want to host that in the fall, let's say in October. So you want to host a retreat here, you would add that in here, obviously. But then that means if you want to host a retreat, you actually need to start selling and planning that at least 4 months before, if not more. You could even probably start selling that in the beginning of the year if you wanted to. And so that's going to help you. If you're only thinking about the month that you're in or the next month, sometimes you're always trying to play catch up instead of being okay, I know I want to do that, in October, or I want to host this big live event. And so I need to promote that earlier, or here's I need to, so the biz growth focus might be okay, I'm going to finalize my retreat location and the budget plan. So that's how you can start to plan ahead. So you might not have something planned out for the whole month, right? Or the whole year in every single month right away. That's okay, but it does force you to start to think about it, which I think is important. So once you have that, you basically have, and don't think too that you're locking yourself into this annual business plan. Obviously you can change things, right? But sometimes it can just be a good exercise to kind of go through this, and then you're not always playing catch up. Okay, so now that we have this, then we want to start going into like the actual like content strategy planning. And what's going to be most important for you here is that you're really clear on your main like offers that you want to sell, who is your ideal client, that kind of thing. And so if you don't fill out this vision and planning stuff first, you might have a harder time doing your content strategy. So I'll just say that. But let's go into the content strategy. So first thing you're going to look at are these content strategy, like visionary brand prompts on the left. So same thing with your like big vision. This is now going to take you like a layer deeper into your specific content strategy. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but starting with your unique brand energy. How do you want people to feel when they interact with you and your brand online? Write down 5 words that describe your unique energy, because this is going to inform the look, tone, and feel of your content. So like your colors, your fonts, your brand voice, your aesthetic. For example, if you're like one of my, words is powerful and bold, then you're going to probably want to use bold fonts and bold colors. And if you're using like a beige aesthetic, like the boring beige aesthetic, clean girl aesthetic, but you're trying to call in this like bold, like let's just say visionary, artist, they're not going to be attracted to the like beige bold, like they want to see bold color. So that's an example of how does this start to inform our look and feel of our content. The next thing is your brand story or transformation story. This connects your audience to your why. So you want to like write down here, what is the journey that led you here? What challenges did you overcome? What is the transformation your brand exists to create? Little pro tip, you can obviously use ChatGPT or AI to help you kind of frame this into a story that your ideal client will be attracted to. So once you kind of have a brain dump of all like the details, put that into ChatGPT and say, help me turn all these details of my story into an inspiring, brand story to attract my ideal client that who is X, Y, and Z. And then same thing, it's going to say who is your ideal client, what is your visionary framework. So this is like your unique process or method that gets your clients the results they crave. So what is it that you do, or how do you teach differently, or what is your approach that's different than other people in your industry, and why it works and why it gets the results your client wants. Your disruptive POV, your perspective. What are you saying that others are not? These are like your controversial beliefs and opinions. I have controversial in air quotes because you don't need to sacrifice your mental health just to be controversial online and get attacked. But if there are things that kind of go against the norm that are like hot topics, like we want to hit on those because those are going to stand out online and call in the right people that you want. So example, I almost went through all of them, but actually let's just keep going. Next, you're going to determine your content pillars. So these are 3 to 5 topic buckets that your content regularly falls under. So this would be like, so for example, let's say you are a wellness coach and you work a lot on helping women heal their gut health. Okay. So some examples here could be like gut health tips, obviously, is going to be a big one. Um, but maybe you also like to share like your lifestyle and like story of overcoming leaky gut. I don't know, I'm just making this up. So that could be like another one you like to share. Maybe you also feel really strongly that like non-toxic solutions, whether it's nutrition, food, but also like your household items, like maybe that's really important to you to helping with gut health. I am totally making this up because I'm not a gut health person. And then maybe also you want to really hit on debunking gut health myths or like things people are getting wrong in the industry. So those are examples. Like if you're like, okay, I always kind of share within these 4 topics, those are going to become your content pillars. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't ever share anything that doesn't fall within these, but it just kind of can help you get organized. And so once you have these content pillar buckets, these are what are going to go right here under your content ideas. So this is where you can brainstorm and where you can store your brilliant content ideas that come up. So let's say you have like a note stock or a notes app on your phone filled with content ideas. You can actually, you obviously, if you don't want to use this, that's fine. If you like your notes app, totally good. But you could just like move them and organize them here under pillars. So like you would just insert those pillars here. So let's say we did gut health tips, and then what was the next one? Lifestyle story of overcoming, whatever. So then once you have specific ideas, you would put them here. So let's say you want to do, you want to share like your favorite probiotic that you use every day, and you want to share your morning routine for gut health, for good health. I don't know. This is where you can start to just add and brainstorm all those ideas under the different pillars. Okay. And then over here are just some content templates, and you can even use these too, like if you need help, like actually turning these content ideas into, um, like the first like line that you're gonna say, which is like the hook. Um, so the first 3 seconds of your video, post or caption should hook people in right away. And so these are actual hook templates. So for example, if you want to share your story, so this would probably be under the lifestyle story of overcoming. It says how I went from blank to finally feeling blank in my life again. So the example here is how I went from running on autopilot to finally feeling alive in my life again. But we could take this and put it here and then just fill in the blank and say how I went from um, leaky gut with horrible acne and mood swings to finally feeling lighter and happier in my life again. This is like me coming up with a very quick example. So that maybe not isn't the best wording for that, but you get what I'm saying? Like you're saying how I went from this to this, like that right there is a content idea. And we can do these for each of these. Because I also have, sharing your visionary framework or teaching. So here's the exact process I used to take my clients from blank to blank. If you've tried blank and it didn't work, it's probably because no one showed you how to blank. Here's my process. So honestly, you could even make like your visionary. So like if you're like, let's say your framework is, I don't know, the shine gut method, and that's your like process, and you take people through what the SHINE means or something like that. You could have different content ideas to get that across. So these are all just, to help you kind of start to come up with some of these content ideas. I do also have in these last 2 sections call to action templates. So the hook is what goes in the beginning of your video. The call to action is wherever you in your video or post, you're asking people or telling them what to do next. So this could be at the end of a video. It could be, honestly, I'm a big fan of putting the call to action closer to the front in case people don't make it all the way to the end. It could be in your caption or whatever. But this one is call to actions for starting more sales conversations in your DMs. This is like the number one way to actually convert people like on Instagram or any social media platform where you can message back and forth is you really want to get a conversation going. So these are some examples. Like I'm doing free mini audits in the DMs for blank. Want me to take a look at yours? Comment me. So, hey, I'm doing free social media contents in my DMs. This will help you give a couple tips to people and then tell them how you can help them take it to the next level. Or maybe you're doing like free health mini audits and you could just have people answer one question in your DMs, but it just like gets things going. So those are examples of that. And then call to actions for getting more engagement on your videos and posts. So these are, again, you could put this in a video, in the caption, whatever, but this will help you get more engagement on your posts. So those are just little things to help you with the strategy. Obviously, if you want to add anything else to these, you can always add more columns and then like create another section for yourself, or you could go down here and create more sections. Whatever you need, you can start to customize this, but this is just like the basics. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to say, now we have like the basis of our overall content strategy here. How do we turn this into an actual monthly plan? So you'll see that you have a monthly view and a daily view for each month. So let's go into October's, and I do have an example, which we'll get to in a second. But I just want to show you like basically how to use this. So there's this section here, and then there's the metrics and reflections section at the bottom. By the way, I am looking at this on a bigger screen. It's going to be a lot easier to use this on a bigger screen. You can use it on your laptop, but just a little tip, bigger screens are always better for this kind of thing. You can like really, zone out a little or zoom out a little bit better. Okay, but anyways, we have the main planning month, and then the metrics and reflection is for after that month is over. So if you're planning October, you're not going to do anything with this section until the end of the month. And this is going to really help you. Like, let's say you're in October of the next year and you're like, okay, what worked well for me last October? Or, whatever if you're looking even at November, if you want to look at what worked for you last month, this is really important to start to fill out just to give yourself an idea of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to forget that this worked really well for my Halloween sale and I should do it again next year. So that's what this section is. But let's go back up to the top. So when you always want to start with your goals for the month. Oh, and I do have this written out at the top of your example, like the steps 1, 2, and 3, but I just want to show you the different sections here. So you want to start with your goals for the month, and then you're going to come up with, okay, what strategies am I going to do this month to actually bring that to life? Those are like tactics, ideas, this is where you can brainstorm those things. Again, I have examples for you. And then based on those strategies, you might have some to-dos that you need to go accomplish. Like, for example, if you want to sell a new offer and then you need to go create a new sales page for it. Could be a to do. Or if you're like, I want to create a new freebie that I'm going to advertise this month and get more email opt-ins, then obviously you need to create the new freebie and then create the email landing page and that kind of stuff. So that's where you can kind of keep track of your to-dos for the month. The notes section over here on the right is just basically if you just want to take note of anything as you're planning. You can use this, or you can use this for something else if you want to. But then when we start to look at the month, you want to start with, okay, based on my goals and the strategies I came up with, now I want to say, like, what are the main things that are going to happen this month? So let's say, for example, your newsletter goes out, and I'll just get rid of this one to simplify this. Let's say your newsletter goes out on the first of every month. Let's say you decided you're going to do 25% off of journals for this month, and you're going to do that. You're going to start that here and you're going to end it here. Then you can start to take note here of like, okay, 25% off all planners starts today. So you're going to start with those main kind of dates, or maybe you have a live event, like you're going to host a master class, or maybe you're going to host an in-person event, in-person workshop day or whatever. This also has drop downs for podcast drops, blog post drops, that kind of thing. If you ever need to add more, like if you're like, okay, I feel like this is missing something that I always do, you can edit it and over here actually add another item. You just want to make sure, like if you add that here, then it's not going to be on the rest of them. So you're going to want to, like after you add it, just copy and then like paste it. That's going to be the only annoying thing is I tried to make the template be what everybody would need, and not overcomplicate it too much. So yeah, you just want to make sure that you can always customize, but you just have to watch like what what that means of like how you have to change the rest of the months to also match that. So it might be easier, to just write something in or whatever. I do want to make a note that down here, do not edit this section on any of the monthly tabs. This is powering your daily view automations because basically once you put something here, so let's say you have your newsletter drop, once you go over to the October daily view, once you put in, so let's just say this was blank. Once you put in that date, so you're like, okay, October 1st, what am I going to do? It's going to automatically pull in that you have a newsletter send that day. So, this is going to be email, obviously for the newsletter, whatever. It's just going to pull in whatever you have that day. Or if this was a live masterclass, then you can kind of say, okay, so for the live masterclass day, I want to do whatever. So we'll get into that in a second. But I just wanted to show you that those do auto-populate for you. And so you don't want to mess with these. Okay, and so that's how this works. And then same thing with the like metrics and reflection. You can keep track of your views, your engagement. Again, you can change these if you want to track different metrics. But I felt like these were like kind of the most important. And then you're going to have your reflection spot on what was your top performing content this month and why do you think it worked? And how can you replicate that success next month? What worked in terms of sales? So something that got millions of views might not be what got you millions of dollars in sales. So we want to look at these separately of like, what did I do that actually got me sales and what do I need to shift or let go of, or what drained my energy that did not work? So this is just a really good reflection for you at the end of the month. But let's go over to the example month of how you would actually start to begin to plan out your strategy for the month. Okay, so planning out your content strategy for the month. Here are the first basic steps you want to follow, which we already kind of talked about. But one, always start with your monthly business goals and then brainstorming strategies to reach them for the month. So I have here as my goals. I want to get 5 new clients in my group program. Again, let's say this is the same. Let's say this is an example for a wellness coach who focuses a lot on healing your gut health. So I want to launch a new group program and I want to get at least 5 people in there. I also want to grow my email list by 50 people this month. You might also have a goal to, these are just examples, speak on 2 podcasts. So whatever your goals are, you can add them there. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to have these 2 goals for the example, but you may have more or you may have less. It depends on what your intention is for the month. So these are my main things I want to do. Here's me brainstorming the strategies to actually make that, bring that to life. So obviously I'm going to do a group program launch series on content, in my content. and I'm going to do a bonus for the first 3 people who join because I want to create urgency and I want to get the momentum going. So the first 3 people who join, I'm going to give them a bonus. And then I think I put, oh, and so then I was like, okay, what is that bonus? So I'm going to do a lot. I'm going to launch the group program for $200 off for the first 2 weeks for people to join. And the first 3 to join will get a one-on-one health audit from me as a bonus. So that was kind of my strategy to actually create urgency and get people in there quicker. So that's the first thing. And then another strategy is set up my first paid ad on social. So maybe you've never done paid advertising before and you want to just kind of experiment and see, is this something I can use to fill my group programs in the future? So that's an example of a strategy. Another idea is to host a free masterclass so that you can get those email signups that you have on your goal, but also have a sales call to action at the end of that class to join the group program. Okay. And then I'm going to do, last thing my idea is to do free audits in my DMs for 2 days only after the masterclass. So this is going to help me get some conversations going one-on-one with people, really understand what they're struggling with when it comes to their gut health and how I can explain to them that my group program is going to solve for those exact problems that they have. And I'm going to sell into my group program from those free audits. Okay, so those are my main strategies. So now that I know that, I'm going to move over. Let's pretend that this whole calendar was blank when we started, and I'm going to start to fill in those key dates and drops into the calendar first. So, for example, we know we want to host a free masterclass. So first I'm going to decide on that date. So right here, I have it as live event. I have it on the 13th. I have it free masterclass at 1 p.m. Heal your gut without sacrificing your joy. That is the free masterclass topic, for example. So I added that on, and then I know after that masterclass is when I'm going to start really hitting on to join the group program because that's kind of like the launch of it, right? So I'm then going to put promo begins because this is when I'm doing that $200 off plus the first 3 people get the bonus. So I'm saying that that's going to start here. It's a main date. And then I'm saying, okay, let's end that on a Friday at the end of the month. That'll be their last chance to lock in that $200 off. Now, maybe, hopefully, I would have already sold the 3 people, but if I hadn't, I would probably still hit on that in my messaging too. So again, pretend these are all blank. So I have my promo begins, my promo ends. And then I'm going to probably start adding in like, okay, what before my masterclass needs to happen then? So obviously I'm going to be promoting the masterclass before to actually get people to sign up and to come, because the more people I get there, the more people I will convert. What were the other dates? So we did the free audits in my DMs for 2 days only. So I decided to put that here, and you guys can do this however you want. Like if you wanted this to be, let's just say, like a color, you can make this a color so it really stands out to you that these are the days you're going to be doing the free health audits. And then let's say I always do a monthly newsletter in the beginning of the month. Let's say I'm going to put that out on the Thursday, and that every time in my newsletter, I have a new blog post that drops that I send out in the newsletter. So I'm going to put that there too. And then you can even write underneath like, okay, what needs to go into that newsletter, or what is that blog post? So this says monthly newsletter theme is gut check, announce the masterclass on the 13th. So I want to make sure I hit that in my newsletter, plus the new blog article drop on prebiotics. So I put like a little note there of what that's going to be about. Again, strategically, I'm going to use these things that I do every single month, but look at what do I need to promote in it? So my newsletter, and maybe even I probably should have put plus sneak peek, plus sneak peek of group program coming. So that's going to start to like get people excited about that. Okay. But I'm going to take this off just so I don't forget to. So yeah, so that's where you can kind of take notes on, or you can put them over here in the notes if you want to. But once I have all those kind of main dates on, I also have in here podcast drops. So maybe I drop a podcast, every other week, twice a month. And so I'm going to put podcast drop on whatever that date is. And then I'm going to put, the podcast episode name. And then same thing here for the 24th, I'm going to do a podcast drop. And then again, I'm doing this strategically, right? So I have my podcast episode as Gut Health 101, and I'm going to do a call to action to join the masterclass next week in the podcast. But so I know this next podcast obviously follows after the masterclass. So I'm going to make the call to action in this one to join the group program. So do you see how I like have these things that I do every single month, maybe? But how am I strategically using them based on my goals and my strategies for the month? Okay, next thing I'm going to go in after I kind of have those main dates is like maybe decide when I'm going to send out emails. So these blue are all email sends. So let's say, for example, I'm going to look at, okay, my promo begins on the 14th. So I definitely want to send a sales email that day announcing that promo. I already know I'm going to want one on the last day. And I'm also going to want one on the day before it ends to say, hey, this ends tomorrow. Those are my first podcast or email sends. And then I know that I send an email every single time I drop a podcast with just the podcast link. So I'm going to make sure those are on there. And then I know since I'm hosting the masterclass today, I'm going to want to send a last chance to join email. And then based on that, like, so this and that scenario would have been blank. So I'm going to be like, okay, I need an email that just promotes joining the masterclass next week. So you can see it here is promote masterclass next week, send an email. So do you start to see how the strategy is coming together based on those, goals and strategies? And then these notes here, so I have what worked best for my last launch was getting convos going in the DMs. So that's how I had those ideas to do the free audits. 50 signups for a masterclass. So you want to get 50 signups for a masterclass. So 20 will show up live, and then I'll send out a replay, but do a giveaway for live attendees to make sure I get the most people there live. So something I didn't have on here was to send the replay email out. So now that I looked at that, I'm like, okay, I need to have my replay email. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to say send replay. And again, you can use different color codings if you want. I tried to keep this simple. I had also wrote here that this is the day I want to get my paid ad live by. Probably even want to get it sooner, honestly, but this is just an example. Send a replay email plus post on Instagram. A link to the replay. So this is all examples, okay, of you. I mean, you might do this very differently, but I just want to show you, like, here's how you use that calendar, but how you also would start to plan strategically to get those goals to actually happen, okay? So when you go over here into the daily, you are going to make sure you start with your date. So let's say this is the first, I'm sorry, let's say this is the first. You have your newsletter and you want to hit on, like, okay, here are the main things I'm going to hit in my newsletter. I'm going to do the gut health 101, blog post on prebiotics, a sneak peek of group program, whatever. Let's say that's like the description of it. Then you can either write it here. Let's say you're having someone else kind of like build it. Or if you're like, okay, I don't want to write my whole email in here, that's fine. You can just leave this blank for emails. But let's say now, okay, on the first, we're also going to do an Instagram post. And I want this to kind of be advertising what they can look for in their newsletter. So maybe it's like a little sneak peek of the post about the prebiotics that you use. Prebiotics I use for a healthy gut. So that's kind of the content idea. And ideally, if you go back over to your content strategy planning, let's say here you had already written out my favorite prebiotics, why I won't choose anything else. I don't know, it's just an example. You can actually just copy. So I just copied this one. I'm going to go over to my daily and just put that here. So you can just go and copy and like look at like, okay, what can I put here for each day? And then you can actually write your caption out in here. Why I like to do this is it gives me a spot, especially if I am repurposing, to not actually put it in the platform. So say I'm going to do this on both Instagram and like whenever I do Instagram, I'm also going to post it on TikTok. Then I can just copy and paste this caption onto TikTok as well and not have it sitting in Instagram and then I lose it. Or let's say, sometimes what I'll do too is I'll actually just reuse captions if they're like, like have a certain sales kind of concept going on in them. I might reuse that concept in a later month and I can just copy and paste and put it over into another month to work smarter and not harder because people aren't going to remember the exact caption that you used. So I like to have it kind of written out. If you want like certain hashtags, like maybe like, okay, so this one's about, prebiotics when other posts might not be. So I want to make sure I hit on prebiotics here or something like that. You can put those there if you want. If you need to link to the content, so let's say, for example, you're working with a team and this is an Instagram carousel, and so you want to link to the Canva post, or you want your virtual assistant to go make it and they link it here for you to review, you can put that link here. And then these would be for any comments for your team. So if you're like, hey, I don't like the font you used, change to Roboto or something. Or if you're like, add more storytelling vibes to caption. Or these could, if you're not working with a team, these could be just comments for yourself or notes you want to make. And then again, if you're working with a team or by yourself, this is where you can put like, is this done or not ready? So, maybe you don't like the idea for some reason at all and you don't want to use it. You can just say, scrap this. Or maybe you're like, okay, I have a change, so I'm going to change this to pending, and then I'll wait for them to make the updates. And then when it's approved, I'll put approved, and then they know that they can go ahead and get it scheduled or posted or whatever. You can also leave comments on here. So like, let's say, like besides something that you would want to say here, like maybe you're like, okay, I want to add a comment here and say only approved for Insta, don't post anywhere else. You can also leave comments that way. Or if you wanted to put that like here, or here, you can kind of leave comments up on specific things that way too, if you want to for your team. But that is the daily view, so that you can actually plan out per day what you're going to post. Again, you can add different, sections here. You can change these out if you want, something else that you need to hit on every single time. This is just good to get you started. But just note that if you change something in here, it's obviously not going to change in the other daily view tabs for the different months. You'll either want to keep making that change or duplicate that entire month, and then change it per month. But there are like different, like I said, automations in here. So if you start to change too much, you might break these automations, which is okay, especially if they're not that important to you. If you're like, okay, I can just write this in myself, but just keep a note that if you change, something too much that is referencing over here, then those might get broken. But yeah, so that is how you are going to begin to use your content strategy planner. And I know that this might feel like a lot, it might feel overwhelming, but trust me, just start with the vision and the annual plan and work your way over. And I promise you will have a lot more clarity. If you decide like, hey, I actually don't need to get as granular as you just were getting, that's fine too. Like, use this how you want to use it. It needs to work for you. This is just an example. But if you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram at BizCoachSasha. I would love to help you. And I know that you are going to absolutely slay this because you're now using the Hot Girl Visionary Content Planner. Okay, love you. Bye.